Welcome everyone to today's Hedera community call. I'm Luke from the Hashgraph DevRel team. Today, we're going to be speaking with some very experienced people within the Hedera ecosystem about what's changed over the years. We have Manu from Kabila and Tudor from HeadStarter. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello, thanks for having us. Good and good.
Hey, Luke. Happy New Year to everybody. Good to be here.
Happy New Year to you as well. Manu, why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kabila. We started Kabila back in, we were working or at least exploring Hedera before 2022, but we started the company in 2022 with Adrian, Fran, and Rafa, which are my partners. So since then, we've been developing different products. We started with a toolkit, an NFT toolkit. Then later on, we started working on a non-custodial wallet, the Kabila wallet, because we needed, that to kind of like, sign batch transactions and some of the stuff. Then we worked on the NFT marketplace and some other products. And today we're, working on several technology products that you always use and leverage Hedera as the underlying network. So yeah, we've been building on Hedera since 2022, and yeah, we're proud to be building here.
Awesome, glad to have you here, and I'm looking forward to what we unwrap today. Tudor, why don't you give yourself a little introduction and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Again, thanks for the invite. I started off in Web3, or before it was called Web3. Took a bit of an academic route in early days, and then got drawn into looking deeply at Hedera by Mike Maloney, as a lot of other people did. Afterwards, started following Hedera from day one, and then having fun building some applications, participating to a couple of hackathons, 2019-ish, 2020. And after that, we decided to go full-time Web3 in 2022, end of 2021, 2022. At the same time, we launched our venture studio, and which is Builder Labs, and as well as our first flagship product called HeadStarter. And since then, we've been building various products ourselves, as well as open source software that are commonly that can be commonly used by Hedera developers.
Yeah.
So a lot of the apps that people might be familiar with, like Meme Job, are built by us, but as well we participated, or we had joint ventures with other familiar Hedera products. And from the head at HeadStarter, we always try to help out Hedera startups, accelerate them, take them to market, make sure that they build solid businesses. And last but not least, the last thing that we've been focusing on over the past 8 months or so is agentic commerce. And it's an exciting new world out there.
That's it. Awesome. Manu, you've been building in the Hedera ecosystem since its early days, when Hedera and Web3 were still sort of coming together. From then to now, what's the biggest shift you've seen throughout the ecosystem, and what's actually possible to build and sustain on Hedera?
Yeah, since then, a few things have changed. My perception is that after all these years, around 99% of the real world use cases that really require DLT, can be built on Hedera today. So we have everything now. Almost everything can be built on Hedera. I would say that the infrastructure is now much more mature, and it's more battle tested. It's been a lot of developers, a lot of companies now working and playing with the tech.
Yeah.
I think we've reached a point now where the technology itself is no longer the bottleneck, I would say. Hedera is now it's robust, it's scalable, it's reliable, because at the beginning, the network has always been very robust, but there was, always some bugs that needed, to be found. There was some things that were, needed to be refined. But now that has shifted. No, we're now not asking if this can be built on Hedera or if there are limitations. We're now more focusing on deployment. We're focusing more on sales development and trying to onboard new companies and new clients into that network. So I also think that those first years were a bit more crypto native. Those were the years of experimentation. Kind of like the crypto, the whole crypto thing that sometimes was moved by speculation. It was the lab. It was kind of like the playground that we used, to play with the network, understand the network, improve the network. And I think that is now today being applied to real solutions, real companies, real use cases. And I think that the network is definitely not a bottleneck. So now it comes, everything comes to find solutions and businesses that are going to be using it. And now we are in, I think, a phase where we are now scaling the use of the network with real adoption.
Yeah, no, it is really cool to see. I've been around for the last since about 2020, and it has changed so much, and it is incredible to see the projects like Kabila building and becoming a real strong backbone of Hedera. And as the network has matured, has the way you've been building on Hedera changed at all, or are you now ramping up more?
Sorry, I didn't catch up that last question.
No problem. I was saying, as the network has matured, have you changed the way you're building products, or are you now trying to ship more products quicker than a few years ago, potentially?
I mean, I think that the change, there's some things that have changed, but I think today we build knowing that the technology is no longer a risk or a bottleneck. At the beginning, now it's ready to scale. It's ready for real adoption. But at the beginning, there was moments, where there were some pieces that were lacking, or there were some integrations that were lacking, and they had to be done, or whether by ecosystem builders or by Hedera, Hashgraph, through heaps, or just new developments. But I think right now the way we approach, but the new products, it's the same. Now we just are a bit more confident, that the network is going to be able to let us work and build without those, sometimes bottlenecks or corner cases that could create days or months of just getting us stuck until that was solved. So now right now I think we're building the same way, but we have a bit more confident that the technology won't be a problem right now.
Yeah, that's it. And Tudor, you've had a front row seat to how both Hedera and the broader Web3 space have evolved. Early on, many assumptions existed around adoptions, incentives, monetizations. Which one of those changed the most once products reached users beyond the crypto native audience?
Yeah, that's a very loaded question, and thanks for that. It's been some fun years and a lot of building in between. I think for all of us here. Crypto, as Manu said, went through many stages of experimentation, and I think the cool thing that happened and what blockchain and the crypto industry stirred is a encouragement, or it let loose the creativity of a lot of people that might otherwise have been reluctant to pursuing their dreams or their ambitions. And crypto kind of unlocked that. I've seen, we recently put out at HeadStarter that we've interacted or done due diligence, spoken to more than 400 or 500 projects over the past years. And it's very interesting to, see that people are encouraged by building here. They will find a place that can nourish and enable them to take their plans, ideas, and ambitions to market. Obviously, there has been ups and downs and very violent swings at times. Now, when it comes to the things that are left over, that when dust settles, are the best practices. Now we are in a point, especially on Hedera, where because we have built now EVM equivalents, and we are at the point where you can build up pretty much anything very easily what's in the EVM world. Now we can bring to the Hedera ecosystem the applications that otherwise have went through multiple iterations until they found product market fit. And I think that's because of regulations, we have now unlocked some of the best practices. And ultimately, what we encourage all the founders, all the builders that are looking to build in our space, is for them to look into building a business. It's not so so delicate to refer to your crypto startup as a business anymore. And now you know which are the best practices, and you know that you can find ways towards monetization and not necessarily look into the Web3 space as a flash in the pan, but build sustainably.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know you said there you spoke to about 500 projects. Are many of them looking to build on Hedera, or are they more multi-chain? Or
yeah, well, I think on the HeadStarter channel we have like that tweet, and we plan to release a lot more data around our historical interactions over the days and weeks ahead. But a few of them are live on network. Few of them have moved to other chains and failed. But as you see in the startup world outside of Web3, the majority are dead or waiting to be declared dead. So we see a lot of them, but ultimately, through our due diligence and through the way that we've tried to promote best practices towards these founders, we were able to put forth in the Hedera ecosystem only the projects that we knew that had the best chance of being successful, and also delivering something valuable at the same time.
For sure. And you mentioned as well at the beginning of the call there about the HeadStarter Accelerator program. Are many of those projects going through that accelerator, or could you tell us a little bit more about that, or if there's a company looking to get onto that accelerator, what they need to do?
We have been in touch with mostly all the projects that have been on Hedera. We still have 3 ways that we collaborate with projects. If sometimes we incubate them or we have a joint venture. We did something similar with the Hedera native hardware wallet called Citadel Wallet. We had a venture with them. Also, we had other projects that are incubated. There's another one that we're working very closely with right now. Other projects can leverage some acceleration services and consultancy. But for some projects, maybe they're top class, then they have everything locked down. Maybe we just help with their Hedera go-to-market. So our team constantly is in touch with founders. The due diligence team has spoken today itself with 3 Hedera projects, and it's very cool to see that there's still quite a bit of inflow of talent into Hedera, even nowadays when crypto sentiment is at an all-time low. So kudos to everybody, and I'm happy that Hedera and Hashgraph continue to nourish innovation and enable founders through the hackathons like the Apex one that's coming up.
For sure, yeah. No, really looking forward to seeing what people build at those hackathons. I judge them myself as well, and they are incredible. Some of the strength of the submissions we're seeing now are it's incredible. Manu, as the Hedera ecosystem has matured, what were the hardest realities you didn't fully anticipate when you started building?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, one of those biggest realities, that we didn't anticipate was that, even with a very solid network, the base and the foundation of Hedera has always been solid, from the beginning. many of the infrastructure pieces that were needed, to ship products were not always ready. I mean, what we were saying before, like, you think that you'll have everything, the Hedera token service, the Hedera consensus service, some of those services were already there, and they have always been extremely helpful. I always say, how important is that Hedera had those native services. I know that then sometimes you need, that EVM equivalence, and you need to work with the smart contracts and other stuff. But if you had to choose, you will always be working with those services because they make things a lot simpler. But besides that, that's always been there. There were some pieces that were lacking, pieces that or were not connected yet. They were not working together well, or they were just not existing, like that they were non-existent. So, that meant that we had to be building those integrations ourselves, and that were, that those were things that we didn't anticipate. And sometimes those little things ended up being big things, along the way. So we had to be working with mirror nodes. We had to be working with other wallets. You have in Web3, you have to be coordinating with everyone, even sometimes with competitors. So it's a very interesting space, because at the end of the day, decentralization means that we get to agree on to get to consensus on some standards. So that there were many learnings in that process, and I think that I would say, the tech is not always there. I think today now, as I was saying, we are in a much different position. I would say today, tech is not the issue anymore. There are, of course, things that we will have to be building, and there is working, and there's always shipping, and there's always new development. But I think those are things that we didn't anticipate. And then, of course, the market. You can never anticipate how the market is going to react. What things are going to happen. You plan. You have plan A, plan B, and plan C. So you try to stay there, whatever happens with the market. So but I think today there's a very different situation, and I think we're starting to see real traction in many cases.
Yeah, and those lessons that you learned early on, has that changed how you think about scope, architecture, long-term sustainability, or now that we're in sort of a better space, it's well, I suppose it is different to how it was back then, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's made us much more realistic. That's number one. That timelines are not always under our full control. So we have to be looking at, okay, before we get into any development right now, we spend the time that we need to really know if there's any blockers, and from there we move on. So that means being 100% sure that you're going to be able to commit, and there are no any critical blockers in that way. But again, today that is happening much less because of all the development, all the updates, all the work. We have reported a lot of bugs. We've been working closely with the Hashref team, and as many other companies and partners. And I think right now it's a very different thing. So but in general, we try to be much more realistic anytime we're planning to do a development on chain.
Awesome. And Tudor, yourself, from your experience, what tends to separate teams that are successfully moving into production from those that remain stuck experimenting? So you're talking there about some of these projects that you've seen.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I wanted to, before addressing it, I wanted to quickly touch upon an earlier point, right? Since we're talking about builders, this is a DevRel-led spaces, and it's a community call, one thing that I always try to encourage people is, especially founders, is as long as they build like a business that makes sense with a proper business case, as down to earth, as realistic and as it is, they're going to succeed. And today there's like beaten paths. There are clear regulations that allow you to do different things towards monetization. And we see right now a lot more pragmatic businesses going to market, stable coins, accounting, all the infrastructural pieces outside of the normal DeFi stack are being built to support Web3 businesses. And the thing that I always try to inspire people about is, especially founders, is that you need to see past the financialized element of the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And build something that has strong fundamentals. Now back to your question, as I touched upon earlier, right? There's been hundreds of projects, and the majority of them never reach mainnet. And a lot of the times, people who decide to build or decide to become founders see that it might be a lot more difficult than initially thought, or that the people that might be there to help them or fund them will ask all the tough questions. And similarly, the Hedera ecosystem and the people who have been funding the majority of the projects that are live today on the network, they have also learned to further curate these projects, and we are relying on them every step of the way, and appreciate their insight and their enthusiastic support for everything that's coming live that's of value. That to say that the curation level today is not only done by enablers or stakeholders, but also at the very retail level. So because it is more difficult to tap into funding, that also is a factor that makes a lot of projects not go to market. And what I want to see is, I want to see like successful projects being launched on Hedera by passionate founders like Manu and a lot of the other familiar faces that community might see in these spaces. And it's very important to continue to build the DeFi stack. But I also will say that over the past years, because Hedera has built towards EVM equivalence and not started with it day one, that also made the community and the projects, the applications that are on chain, a lot more sticky. You see a lot of times a layer 2 come out, or something that's very EVM equivalent. They come out of the box at launch with their own native DEX and bridge and whatnot, and it dwindles to zero because there's not passion there. It's something that is easily built, and as long as you don't put sweat equity and you just fork something, then you'll also die easy towards that project.
For sure. And I suppose from a founder's perspective, what is sort of the golden rule, golden advice? If you could say to founders that are watching this now, what is the one piece of advice that you'd want them to take away from what you've been saying?
That's a tough one. Well, treat it like even though you're building in Web3, treat it like a business. Treat it like a business that needs to be monetized. And at the same time, if you are going to be challenged, make sure that you listen to productive criticism along the way. Yeah,
for sure. It's solid advice there. We have had a question from the community as well, from someone watching. So it should pop up on the screen here. It says that we mentioned Hedera is ready for scale. What does scaling mean for Hedera, and where do you see it in 6 to 12 months' time?
Yeah, I mean, at least, what I mean by scaling is that, Hedera, in terms of the underlying tech, has always been ready to scale. We saw that, when we had those 7,000 or 10,000 transactions per second. I don't remember, no, 3,000. I don't remember the number, but, it's always been a tech ready to grow. But again, it's not just the underlying tech. It's all the pieces, it's all the infrastructure, it's all the little components that you need to really make it work in different industries and different, businesses and different situations. No, so I think that is now a lot more mature. So right now, there is really not a problem as we used to have in terms of tech when you want to deploy, as Tudor was saying, real businesses. Now you can finally focus on having a real business, on having product market fit as soon as possible, on having, your clear target and trying to find a way to, to solve the problems they have. So now we're ready to scale. And there's another thing, which is now we have regulation, and that's opening a lot of real businesses that already had, their business, working, and now they can deploy their solutions, because they may have different needs in using the network, the chain. But now that they can do that because now we have the regulation, so they can now be compliant and they can meet the criteria. So I think we're now in that point where we have the tech, we have the regulation, and we have also the awareness of real businesses. That now everyone has heard of blockchain, has heard of tokenization, has heard, it's everywhere. So we are in that point, I think, where we're starting to, see, scaling the whole thing. We will see over the next years.
So I'll also take a stab at that question real quick, and maybe give the community an insight behind the curtain. Everybody a lot of times talks about HIPs and different features that are coming to Hedera. And some of those HIPs indeed are to improve protocol features, improve functionalities. But a lot of them also come from the need of different businesses. So you also need to imagine that with every HIP release, whether it's batch transactions or whatnot, on the consensus side, there's a very high likelihood that a lot of those features are demanded or requested by businesses so that they can build something unique on chain. And that's another important thing that Hedera does very well, right? It's not only a chain for the crypto natives, but it's also a chain that can be leveraged at an institutional level to deliver USPs of a business against its competitors.
For sure. We seem to be getting quite a lot of questions from the community as well, which is really great to see. So we're going to follow up now with another question that we've just had come in. So how do you keep up with regulations and innovation policy advancements? Any advice? I imagine that's coming from someone that's looking to build or has started building. And from your guys' experience, how have you kept up with regulations and innovation and the chopping and changing of the ecosystem?
I mean, that's a very good question. I would say my last 2 weeks have been regulation, because having regulation is good, but understanding regulation, it's a different thing. Especially in Europe, there's always we're champions of regulation, and so that's good, and that's something we definitely needed. But then sometimes it makes things a little bit complex, But yeah, I mean, on our side at least, because we've been for years, working on Hedera, we feel, very confident working with the tech, and that's not kind of like the hard thing for us anymore. I think it's now more understanding, what it means to be compliant, what makes it, what's the difference, with between launching a regulated asset or non-regulated, what's the kind of investors, if they're professional and non-professional, because all those things, affect, of course, the compliance of the platform and on how you build the infrastructure. So how we keep up with regulations, with a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of time also spent with cloud, and that's helping. AI helps us a lot to understand some concepts that are even new for us. So yeah, it's hard. I would say it's hard, but we surround ourselves with tech partners, but also legal partners. We spend a lot of time researching, and once you have that clear, it's easier. And yeah, it's a bit hard to keep with all the compliance stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. Tudor, do you have any comments for Cornelia here?
When you're committed to building in the space and you treat it like a founder or like somebody who lives and breathes it for years, you both find like the good data sources that can keep you up to date with anything important, as well as you build the right relationships. So a lot of the times, you mingle with the same people that are of the same kind, and crypto is mainstream today, right? It's not like something that's a passion of a geek in their parents' basement, right? It is something that attracts more and more TradFi and boomers every year. So it's the foundation of the new financial system and for the new tokenized economies of everything. So you know, you need to be able to mingle in those circles, and you know, you're going to have friends and partners that will help you along the way. That might be their core focus, and lean into it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things I love about this community is everyone's so willing to help each other and discuss and talk, and it really does help with the regulatory side of things. So, Tudor, I've got another question for you here. How much difference has clearer infrastructure tooling and ecosystem context made compared to the early days? So as Hedera has developed, or has Hashgraph has developed, how is that different compared to the early days?
Yeah, I think Manu touched upon this pretty well earlier. You know, when I started building, I started off building a gig economy network on an up chain, and there was no way for you to communicate with token services, and we did a lot of you know, from that point also up to 2022, when we launched HeadStarter in the first place, and we also delivered some open source SDKs just for the community to use, but that was also for us to eat our own dog food. Because we were so early, you know, we built a lot, and you know, that's what we need to encourage the startup economy on Hedera to continue to push the boundaries, and you know, either demand HIPs, build open source functionalities for others to use, and compound innovation. That's what we need to happen on chain. And obviously a lot has changed, but mentioning earlier that, you know, over the last 8 months or so, we've been focused on agentic commerce and how that's going to shape the on-chain economy. And you know, there's still a lot of things that we are building, but also when you're on the cutting edge, it's not like necessarily Hedera doesn't have it. It's just it might be a industry-wide thing. So it's leaps and bounds, and also, you know, the collaboration. I think another thing that I need to commend you guys on is the better communication, the increasingly exponentially better communication year on year between the development team at Hashgraph and the startups, right? It's very good that, you know, they keep a ear to open to everyone.
For sure. And you know, we're always open to that, always open to feedback. You know, we're always looking to continually improve, and you know, we can't take enough feedback and bring that into our policies to help you guys build and help new people build as well. You touched on there, Tudor, about agentic commerce. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? I'm interested. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a deep rabbit hole, and something that, you know, has taken, I think, all of our team, taken over our imagination, and is something that's still under development. But we do believe that the way that you interact with crypto today, or with any type of tokenized representations of value, are going to dramatically change over the next, I don't know, maybe months, right? But definitely over the years, right? And it will be increasingly different. You know, a lot of people in Web3, even today, you know, one of the main things that they mention that needs to be improved in order for Web3 to really be friendly towards the masses is the UX, right? A lot of the things in Web3 or in the blockchain space might be a bit different or backwards than you might be used to, right? Because I'll just give you an example, right? You want to encourage people to come to your business, but then they need to install a wallet. And hey, when they interact with your application, they need to pay a fee. right? So a lot of the stuff is a bit backwards, especially when it's perceived by somebody who is a lot more not as tech friendly, not as tech savvy or as daring. So what I think might very well happen is that we might leapfrog this adoption or this improvement in the UX and let agents act on behalf of us through native language on chain. And it's amazing the things that that can be automated today, and it's within reach at everybody's fingertips. And yeah, vibe coding is is the word right now.
Yeah, for sure. We've had another question come in here from one of the viewers. I suppose it ties into what you were saying as well, Tudor, about increasing traffic. So if Hedera's traffic doubled tomorrow, where do you think the real bottleneck would be? Indexing, mirror nodes, marketplace liquidity, fiat onboarding, or user support? Where would you see sort of the bottleneck? I know you've mentioned as well about the tech not being the bottleneck. So where do you think we would see that most?
I think there wouldn't be a bottleneck. I think the traffic could double and triple. I think Hedera is ready for that, and I think it's waiting for that, and I think it's going to happen. A lot of things are moving around, but of course, having more liquidity, wouldn't be bad. Fiat onboarding, it's always something that, as Tudor was saying, it's a friction. The way you try to pay something with credit card, but that's not a Hedera thing. It's more a bank thing. They've been trying hard, for us to be not that fast. But I think they're actually ready to scale. Mirror nodes, we have some very good mirror nodes. We use HGraph. They've been doing an excellent job, and they've been growing fast as well. So I think there's now the multi-chain integrations that are going on. But I think, again, that there's always going to be things that you'll want to add to network. But in general, I think we're ready to scale.
For sure, yeah. And you mentioned there as well about HGraph, and I know block nodes are on the horizon as well. I think that was something that was discussed on the technical community call as well. So if you guys haven't seen that, check that out. It's a really cool discussion. Manu, when companies start exploring DLTs and don't have a clear picture of how to build on Hedera, what usually helps them from uncertainty to something concrete? If they were looking at Hedera compared to some of the other chains out there, what sets Hedera apart?
Well, I mean, there's always three things I mentioned about Hedera. One thing is the tech. The underlying tech. It's the best in the market. That's objectively speaking. So they don't have to care about if this is going to be able to scale or it's going to be ready. They'll have enough network for whatever use case they're going to be working on. So the other thing is the governance. The governance, I think, is something that, at least to us, it gives us, it creates trust. So that it's not just a bunch of developers that might be taking some decisions that affect the whole network in a few weeks or months. So the governing council, I think, is a very smart approach to that. And the third thing, which is what I think is the most important thing, is the whole Hedera kind of native services and documentation. So the first thing I would recommend is, try to get to the Hedera developer playground, start playing around, get to the documentation. Hedera has done an amazing job on creating, during years, a lot of good documents. Everything is well explained. It's all well organized, so it's very easy for new people. And one of the good things is that you can use native languages, so you can program in JavaScript if you want. And now with AI, it's even simpler. No, so I would say just try to get a few weeks into just jumping into the whole documentation, play with the playground, try to build a few smart contracts, try to create a few NFT collections, make some transfers, just play with that, because we've realized that when we created the Kabila toolkit, we almost use it all Hedera services, at least for the Hedera token service, and that gave us a whole perspective, a broad perspective of everything you can do, and then some ideas might not be useful at some point, but maybe there is a new client or a new idea, and I remember that we had the KYC key on the token, so we can use that so that this NFT cannot be sold outside of this platform. So I would say it's worth to spend a few weeks, just playing around with the whole Hedera token service and Hedera services in general.
For sure, and the developer playground is a great place to start. There's loads of examples on there, every SDK you can think of. There's smart contract builder as well, really intuitive, really helpful. And then if anyone gets stuck, we've also got the Hedera Discord as well, where we've got some really great technical support. We're always looking to help people. I'm on there myself, always helping out builders, from people just getting started to some more advanced. So it's really great to see, and everyone on that Discord helps each other out and helps each other build. Yeah. There's another question for both of you here as well. From your builder perspective, how do you overcome the crypto is complicated barrier for non-tech people? And any tip or features in Kabila / HeadStarter that make it easier? And that's a comment here from Naoma on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, with Tudor was saying, it's you need to remove as many frictions as possible. So, the first thing is not talk that much about complicated or crypto terms, at least if they're non-crypto, savvy guys. But then all the other things, they're related to the UX. I mean, it's your responsibility to build a product that can be used by someone who has no idea of crypto. So again, one of the two main frictions that have always been there was that you needed a wallet. So that's Web3. You need a wallet. Now there are now with the regulation, the good thing is that you can start providing some custody solutions that then they can evolve into non-custodial solutions, but you can get started with just a Gmail account and a double factor authentication. So it's a way of getting started without many frictions. And then what Tudor was saying about the fees that you have to pay when using the network. So some companies, what they do is they pay those fees for the client, and they assume those fees is just costs of operating the business. But again, it's all about improving the UX and make it as simple as possible, like if it was a Web2 app.
Yeah, for sure, and that's exactly where the HIPs would come into play as well. I think there is a HIP at the minute going through, which is for sponsored fees. I did see that somewhere floating around, so that's great to see that someone has noticed that and said, actually, this would make a great HIP.
It's a complicated thing.
For sure.
Am I audible? Yeah.
You're back now. Yeah. I can hear you now.
Okay. That my internet has been patchy. So the crypto is complicated stigma, I think, also comes from the fact that a lot of the times it's been riddled by bad experiences for people that might not be as savvy. Crypto is not complicated if you really boil it down. It mirrors a lot the current world economy, and you see in ecosystems such as Hedera a place that has goods and services and businesses. So there's you can always find a way to translate crypto into the things that you or the business that you want to build might be more familiar with, and really present it in a way that can make your business more successful than it would be otherwise. I think Kabila, for example, have put awesome toolings for there to be built communities. Tokenized communities is something that is, for example, a relatively low-hanging fruit and something that doesn't require a lot of technical prowess. So I encourage the person who wrote this to find out what they want to do, what they're passionate about, and what they will be relentlessly pursuing. And if you reach out and it also passes our due diligence, we will be happy to get involved and help you somehow.
Awesome. Thanks very much for answering, guys. We've had quite a few questions come in whilst we've been talking as well. there's one here from Matt on LinkedIn. Is it possible to create a Hedera wallet offline? Is there a multi-sign wallet for Hedera? I think Manu, you might be able to answer this one for us. I know with your wallet as well, I think you have multi-signature on Kabila. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely try to, if you're building a wallet for the first time, you can do that on the testnet, and you can, just create your wallet and test it out, and you can do all sorts of things. And then, yeah, we have in Kabila tools, we have a multi-sig tool. By the way, we are launching very soon a new kind of like UX for the Kabila tool. So we've made everything more simpler and a bit more nicer. But yeah, we have the multi-sig tool, and it's a very simple one. At the end of the day, what we did is, okay, you can have one or several accounts. You can also sign with public keys, but normally people refer the key to the account that they have created. So you can just input the 4 or 5 accounts that you have. You can input the threshold that, okay, I want the signature to be 3 out of 5. Mm-hmm. Once you have the multi-sig account created, then you have another section where you have a set of different transactions that you can perform. It can be associate token, transfer token. There are different ones that we have, and then once you launch that transaction, then you have the option of signing, which is the third one, and you can sign through the Kabila Tools app, or you can sign through the Kabila Wallet app. And we use it, like we created that tool for ourselves in the first place, like as many of the tools for our own KBL token, and we wanted to use a multi-sig, for everything. So it's a very useful and very simple to use tool.
Awesome. And then as well, Matt, where you say create their wallet offline, I assume you mean sort of a cold storage solution there. I know, if you've got a hardware wallet, you can use a hardware wallet with Hedera. That's no problem at all as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's answered your question. If you've got any follow-up questions, feel free to stick it in the chat.
And you can buy the wallet at any time on the Citadel website.
I have one around here. It's a very nice wallet, definitely.
Yeah, that's right. And then there was another question as well here from Nicholas. What was the most important roadmap item priority for you over the next 6 to 12 months on Hedera performance, UX, liquidity, data, or infrastructure?
Do you want to go ahead?
I'll take a stab at it. From our perspective, what Builder Labs and the different projects that we've launched over the years have been targeting is to create the most lopsided wins for Hedera in terms of retail adoption, in terms of user onboardings, and in terms of liquidity. That has been our core focus, and continuingly what we want to deliver and to unlock. Another thing that I think will be a will happen because of what we're building. We might also have more transactions on chain, and hopefully we'll push it to the limit, and we're going to know when we get there.
Sure. And then Manu, I know you mentioned there as well, you were changing some of the UX as well for you. Yeah,
we have a full revamp for let's say Web3 products that we will be launching very soon in a few weeks. It's mostly a UX, new rebrand, and I think it's a very good looking one. But then we will also be announcing very soon a new brand. Same company. It's just a new brand that we're launching about, custom solutions, for companies that require a DLT. Of course, always we are going to be recommending Hedera. That's where what we like to use and we always recommend. And we are also now working with the first tokenization platforms. So we will be announcing soon, some of those first clients. But it's very interesting. We are seeing a lot of interest in asset tokenization in RWAs, and so right now we are working with the first company that we'll also be announcing, and we are probably starting to work with another 2 companies. So we're kind of like, with all the experience we had with our own launchpad, with the wallet, now we're just adding that compliance layer. And the idea is that we'll be offering this not to just crypto savvy guys, but also to web to traditional companies. So there's a lot of that going on that we just haven't announced yet, but soon we will be sharing more details.
Awesome, thanks very much. And now, sort of looking ahead, as adoption is getting, is ramping up throughout 2026. How do you expect companies to think differently about DLT than they do today? How do you see, over the last year, how things have changed, how they're going to move forward over the next year? What do you hope to see?
I mean, I think the good thing is that speculation has played out. Mm-hmm. So it now leaves the substance, which Hedera has always been famous for. So I think companies will get back to what Tudor was saying at the beginning, business, trying to, there's the only thing that's going to sustain you on the long term. So we're seeing a lot more of that. And again, to me, what's good now is that there is the regulatory, part, coming in, and now there are a lot of businesses that were waiting, that were kind of scared of getting into crypto because of that, and now they're kind of like getting slowly but steadily, that trust that, okay, what I'm going to be doing is, it's fully legal, and we can now move on. So yeah, I think in 2026 we're going to see a lot more of real adoption, tokenization, stable coins, and yeah, we will still see the crypto native adoption, but also coming with a lot more traditional companies.
Yeah, from my perspective, speaking to founders over the years, a common theme that I noticed and that I expect to continue to accelerate is companies to look into building on Hedera because it has built a brand that it is an institutionally savvy chain. It is a chain that, or a chain, sorry, a DLT, right? It is a network that promotes fundamental businesses and is less about the hype and more about the fundamentals. And I expect that we will continue to see people wanting to have their businesses on Hedera, being built on Hedera, because then they will be mentioned in the same breath as some of the governing council members. And that's a common theme I've seen over the years. I can only expect it to go upwards from here.
For sure. And for any developers watching, if you're in Denver or competing in ETH Denver, we have Hedera Dev Day, which is on the 17th of February. It's going to be incredible. We've got lots of great speakers. I myself am speaking as well. So definitely recommend checking that out. There should be a QR code in the top right of your screen as well, which you can scan and sign up for that. It's going to be really great. And then we have ETH Denver after that as well. So really looking forward to the submissions that we'll see from there, as well as HederaCon on May 4th in Miami. That's going to be incredible as well. So we've got lots of events on, lots of hackathons on. Register for Dev Day Denver. Great. Looking forward to meeting you there. It's going to be great, and looking forward to it. I don't know, Manu or Tudor, if you guys have anything you want to say to the community. Now's your chance. We're nearly there at the end of the time. So if there's anything you guys would love to say to the community, as closing comments or anything, feel free.
I mean, what I would say to any builder working on Hedera, I would say, because we get that question, should we build on Hedera? How is the network going? So to me, the key of Hedera since the very beginning has been consistency. So it doesn't matter what's going on. They have a clear, very long-term mission, and it feels like that, in every sense. So I think they should be, they should be confident that, this is a a network that is doing the work in the right way, there is a lot of development activity. There's always top 1, top 2 in development activity, which is to me one of the most important things. I would always say take time to understand what the network can actually do, because before you get in, of course you need to get time to understand what business are you going to be building, but once you know that and you're looking forward to leverage the network, take that time to do the research, to play around with all the native services, to just test it, just have fun for some weeks, and experiment a lot with the network. That will give you a very broad vision of what you can do with when you're starting to work with your business, because it's not something that it's natural to know. You need to experiment, you need to play with that network, and that will give you need to be hands down and be playing with the tech. Not saying that you should be only doing that, but you definitely should spend some time on that. And then of course try to, if you have any questions, reach out to any other partner builder. Everyone that has been building here, whether it's Kabila, HeadStarter, SaltoSwap, Hashback, all are passionate people, and everyone's going to help you. So we're here to help, and yeah, I think it's a good place to be building.
Yeah, awesome.
I'll try to keep it real quick. You know how everybody knows that Bitcoin being back around over 100,000 is going to happen sooner rather than later, and it's around the corner, right? And as well, if you studied like the fundamentals and you really got into it, Bitcoin, unless there was like a black swan thing, or it was really like declared #1 enemy of the state, then the writing was on the wall that it will have this adoption, right? Similarly, you need to zoom out. If you are a builder, if you want to build something, then you leave the noise of crypto Twitter aside, and you build fundamental stuff. And I think over the years, especially with the positioning of Hedera and its adoption, its positioning in the market, it is going to seem like okay, the writing was on the wall from the beginning. So I encourage everybody to come and get involved. There's still a lot to be built. There's a lot of low-hanging fruits that need to be pruned, and I'm excited to be here to support you guys and see it all through.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Tudor. That's great comments. And just to double click on what you were saying, we've got the Discord. It's an incredible community. Everyone there is willing to help each other out. We've got the Kabila Discord as well, and the HeadStarter Discord as well. And also, if you head on to hedera.com/blog, there's some incredible posts on there as well. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can sign up to our Hedera highlights email. There's one that went out today. Incredible read, definitely worth doing. But thanks very much, everyone, for joining us and tuning in. And Manu, Tudor, I can't thank you enough for being here. It's been great to host you both. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us.
Thank you, guys. Always fun.
See you later. Bye-bye.